Hi, and welcome everybody to another interview with a training from the back of the room trainer. This is JP, and his name is Jean-Paul, and I will let him say his name better than I can do it. Welcome.
Yeah, so it's Jean-Paul Bayley, but yes, thank you, Kelly.
Right. And JP is from England.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
He's in England, I'm in South Carolina in the United States. And through the magic of Zoom and the internet, I just am so delighted that I get to talk to people from all over the world this way. So welcome. And he is a training from the back of the room trainer, as I said before. And today I'm going to ask him a few questions to help you, the audience, get to know more about training from the back of the room. So first of all, JP, can you tell people a little bit about training from the back of the room? What is it? And you don't have to do it in a nutshell because it's not easy to do that.
No, it isn't. Well, I'll give it a go. So training from the back of the room, it's a train the trainer course based on the book of the same name by Sharon Bowman, and it's a mix of there we go. It's a mix of accelerated learning and instructional design, and with some brain science thrown in. And the idea is that we use what we know about kind of how the brain learns and stuff to create and deliver training which is memorable, engaging, and the idea is that the content sticks for longer. That's the aspiration anyway.
And so tell us, how did you come to learn about training from the back of the room or find out about it? Did you bump into it? Were you looking for something?
So I work in the agile community, which kind of, you know, we've taken training from the back of the room to our hearts, really. But I first heard about it from my colleague Jose Casal, who he'd attended a course, and he was raving about it. I mean, he described himself as having leveled up, having done the course, kind of as a trainer. So I bought the book. I also bought Sharon's 10-minute trainer, which is another one of the, I think it's a slightly older book than Training from the Back of the Room. And yeah, took it from there. So that was kind of how I first heard about it. Yeah, it's I started off by reading the book, and then eventually I ended up taking the course with Sharon. So.
And did Sharon come to England to offer the course, or where did you take it?
So I took it in Sacramento, actually. So I traveled over. I've got a friend who lives in San Francisco, and I stayed with him, which was fun too. So it's my first time out to the West Coast. It was a good excuse to get out there. But yeah, so I did that in October 2015. Sharon ran a course over in Sacramento, and then afterwards in the May the following year, she came over to the UK. Actually, the course wasn't planned, and it pretty much got announced whilst I was in Sacramento. So it was one of those things. But it meant I actually got the chance to watch Sharon deliver the course. I observed her do it in London, so that was kind of interesting too. So that was good.
And then how long after that did you decide to start teaching training from the back of the room?
Well, I'd been planning on doing it for a while. I guess it's the challenge when you're doing this stuff on your own is just finding the time to arrange it all and get it going. The first course that I did was actually it was with a group of kind of antenatal and birthing trainers. So people who did that. And, basically, that was I arranged that through some friends that I know. It was quite funny. I learned some things that I can quite safely say I'm never going to use in my life.
I'm sure.
On account of the fact that I'm not planning on giving birth anytime soon. But it was a fun experience, an absolute hoot. But yeah, that was the first time that I did it, and it was only that was kind of like the following November. So it was November 2016 was the first time I actually ran the course myself. But I'd been using the techniques. I do other training, and I have been using the techniques themselves kind of in other training that I do. And the other thing that is cool about running the training from the back of the room course is I always find I actually have new insights about training from the back of the room in teaching training from the back of the room, which is always good.
It is. I found the same thing. And I think it's interesting that you talk about agile, and I want you to explain that in just a minute. And so this works for people who want, or I guess, training about agile. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we also do an awful lot of running workshops and stuff So agile is a way, well, it's kind of like a blanket term for a way of approaching knowledge work. And it started out from people building software products. That's where it kind of comes from, but it's expanded. It's got a slightly greater scope now, really. The idea is that basically we approach things with a very collaborative, iterative mindset. So we experiment our way through things and so on. I'm doing massive injustice by basically kind of calling it that small thing, but that's basically it. Really, is just kind of, you know, in a nutshell, we're helping teams of people who are doing knowledge work to collaborate better and experiment their way to success, rather than kind of doing these very, very big planned out projects and you know, which kind of go out with a big bang. So I think it was Sharon did something at a Scrum gathering over in Amsterdam some time ago. She was invited over, and kind of ever since then, it's really it seems to have been something that's quite big in the agile community globally. And yeah, we use it for running workshops, we use it for running training as well. So.
And just so our audience connects to that word Scrum, I have heard the word, and I think it applies to a Scrum Master, but that's about all I know. So just now we know a little bit about Agile. What is Scrum?
So Scrum is well, I mean, it's kind of a flavor of Agile. It's probably the most popular framework for approaching, you know, for fostering agility within teams. Basically, it's been around since I think it was like the late 90s. It first kind of got introduced by well, proposed at a conference, and the idea is that you have there are three basic roles. You've got the Scrum Master, who is the person who sort of runs the process that sits in there and is the master of the knowledge of that. You have somebody called a product owner who looks after what the product's going to look like, and then you have the development team, which are the people who are building the product. And the reason it's called Scrum, it comes from rugby, actually, which is a sport which may not be so familiar to those in the US, but it's quite big over here. Basically, every so often they have this huddle which they get together. It's whenever there's like one of the teams being penalised, they have this scrum where everybody gets into this huddle and kind of groups together. Yeah. So the daily scrum is this kind of gathering, also known as a stand-up in the morning, where everybody gets together and they talk through what they did yesterday, what they're doing today, and anything that's getting in their way, and basically how they can collaborate to win today.
Okay, so there may be some people watching this who are very familiar with Scrum and very familiar with Agile, but if you are not, you've just got a brief introduction. So thank you, because I know I hear those words a lot in the training from the back of the room community.
Yeah, and I must apologize to my friends in the community, because I probably missed a bunch of stuff out there as well, but I'm trying to be brief.
Well, and that's what I think, that's what people who don't know what it is, we just want to know a general idea. So I think it was very sufficient for me. So, and I realized I forgot to introduce myself to the audience. I'm Kelly Pfeiffer with Go Interactive Training, and I'm also a training from the back of the room trainer. If you're watching this interview, I hope you already know me, but if not, you can check out more videos on YouTube and get to know me better. Let's get back to training from the back of the room. I do want to point out that training from the back of the room works for any audience who trains on any topic. So just as JP has said, it works for Agile and Scrum, as well as women who teach birthing procedures, birthing processes.
Yes, so I mean, one of the loveliest things about that was that particular or a group of the people in that cohort, and then ended up winning some awards for their training. One of them was like, "Oh, thank you so much for having done this." I mean, they were doing some of this stuff anyway, because that kind of work is really interactive anyway. But they won some awards from what they were doing, and one of I was like, "Well, look, okay, kind of thanks, but you did all the hard work, kind of thing." So, but it's great to know that they felt that way. So,
yeah, an award's pretty awesome for training, and to me, this style of training, I will never go back to training any other way anyway, once you learn it, it just makes everything easier. So why wouldn't this group want to do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see. Let me go to our next question. There's all kinds of concepts and tools and training from the back of the room. What is your personal favorite concept or tool?
So to me, the main thing's the 4 Cs. That's the thing that really I use an awful lot. So the 4 Cs being kind of well, it can be described as an instructional map. It's sort of 4 states that you kind of put people through when delivering a piece of content. And there are other versions of it. It's just the 4 Cs is quite a memorable way of doing that. So we start off by connecting people to what they know. We then introduce new concepts to them. We get them to concrete practice those, and then we get them to conclude and decide what they're going to do with that information. So that's a really, really great tool for just planning out. I mean, I use it for planning out workshops as well as training too. So it's not, don't always do it purely for training. Can sometimes be just for setting collaboration up. It can work pretty well.
Oh, I've used it for writing an article. To me, it has so many applications. And when I teach people, they say, you can apply this to almost anything in your life, but it works so well for planning a training.
Yeah. So that's yeah, I say I love it. It's so straightforward and it's really easy to remember as well. So
I agree. I was explaining it to my husband yesterday as we were driving to the lake. It's we had a holiday yesterday, our Independence Day.
Yes, of course.
And so I was explaining to him the 4 Cs, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." And I told him just what you did and explained it a little bit more. And it's so simple, but when you see it in action at the 2-day workshop, to me it was like, oh wow, there's so many possibilities with these 4 Cs. Like we're saying, oh, it's just these 4 Cs and this is what you do, but there are endless of possibilities with it. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's really powerful.
And then next I wanted to ask you, JP, in thinking about the learners, the participants, the people who are attending a training, what do you think that the training from the back of the room, tools and concepts, what does TBR offer to the learners?
So we have an awful lot of misconceptions about what is good for learning. And, a lot of that comes from industrialized learning. So, getting large groups of people to be given information consistently, i.e. schools, universities, that kind of thing. And so what TBR does for me is it gives me a way that I can break free of those assumptions, and the learners get something which is more focused on their learning. It's not about content delivery, and it's much more engaging for them. So, this focus on their learning rather than somebody just standing at the front waffling, and something which really engages them. Builds that kind of community sort of learning experience in the classroom. That's what I think is the kind of main thing it offers to learners, to me.
Yeah, and that community of learners is just, to me, so rich, and it's hard to explain to other people if they have not experienced it. Like how important and helpful that part is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just connects people in the room, and that alone excites them more about being there and learning whatever there is to learn. And then we have all these other awesome tools to do it too. So I'm glad you mentioned that community of learners.
Yes, I mean, I was running a non-training from the back of the room course, as in it wasn't a training from the back of the room training. It was a course that I was delivering using the techniques last week. And one of the bits of feedback was, it was great that we all got, we all, was the connections in the room built really quickly, and we got talking really quickly and all that kind of stuff. And it was just lovely to see that stuff, because if you're not delivering the training from the back of the room training, you're just using the stuff, then the people they're not necessarily aware of what's going on, but there's something at a subconscious level that's happening that they know is different.
They feel it. Yes. I have used training from the back of the room techniques to train childcare providers, because I do parent education and child development classes. And so I've trained parents and childcare providers using this, and I just get the best feedback. And I haven't told them, every once in a while I might tell them one little thing about, we're going to stand up and talk, because you learn more when you talk about it than when I'm working. I might drop little hints in there, but they don't know why they enjoy the training so much, but the feedback is really high. So that tells me something. I feel good. I can feel that they feel good. Yeah. You and I could probably just rave and rave about this all day.
Absolutely. No, it's great.
Is that great? All right. And then for you as the trainer, I know you've shared a little bit about the 4 C's and how it helps you plan, but like as the trainer, what does TBR offer to you as these concepts and tools, this way of teaching?
So, I mean, I guess when I first approached it, it was as much about the tools as anything else. When the very first time I ever ran a course using some of the techniques was before I'd been trained by Sharon. And so I'd read the book and gone through it all, was really excited about it, about using some of the bits, applied them, and there were some bits that fell completely flat. And I was like, well, what's that all about? And it's because I'd completely misinterpreted what some of the ideas were in it, and attending the course of Sharon just completely fixed all of that.
Yeah.
So that was my misreading of parts of the book. So the tools at the time seemed like the thing, but actually, it really is conceptually, this stuff helps you figure out ways of allowing your learners to be at their best and helping them learn in a much better way. And so, it goes back, well, there's the 4 C's, there's also the 6 trumps as well, which is another concept in the brain science book that Sharon wrote. Those things kind of, when kind of put together, they just become like a powerful framework for breaking free from things like death by PowerPoint and all that kind of stuff. You're really putting the learners in the center stage, and that's what I get from the trainer. It just kind of gives me that kick to get away from the slide deck.
Yeah, and I think going to the training, like you said, is so powerful, because you see how Sharon uses this. She does have slides, but she uses them in such a different way than traditionally we've seen them used.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, the other thing. I mean, the thing that I explicitly remember what I did wrong when with this particular course, and it was to do with the building, the psychological safety in the room at the beginning.
Yeah.
The technique that we ended up using was just wrong for it. What I mean by that was there were certain people in the room who felt quite uncomfortable doing the particular thing that we did. It kind of had the reverse effect. So there were some people who were quite introverted, and they had a bit where they had to talk probably a little bit too soon in the course, and it led to them being a little bit more introverted than they otherwise would have been if we'd done it the proper way. So seeing Sharon do that was like, okay, that's where we got that wrong. So yeah.
Yes, and I think timing is so important when we're trying to build that community. And there's another trainer I love. Her name's Jen Stanchfield, and she talks about easing people into some things that if we try to stretch too far too soon, she's like, that people are not going to feel safe. So it's the same type of thing. And I've had the similar experience that you did when I first started learning about these tools. I got really excited, and then I realized, well, everybody else is not quite as excited as I am about just jumping in.
Yeah, sometimes less is more.
Oh yes, I learned that, definitely. Yes, for sure. Okay, and then what do you think people would want to know about training from the back of the room if they don't know anything about it, or they just know a little bit? Is there something else that we haven't talked about that you think people would really want to know, or that would help them decide, yes, I want to attend a training from the back of the room, or look at Sharon's website, or read one of her books? What do you think they might want to know?
Well, I mean, to me, I wish every course was delivered this way. I still attend training every so often where I'm the person on the receiving end of the training, and I can't help but look at it through the lens of training from the back of the room and go, oh, I really wish you had read this book, or who had ever designed the courseware had read this book. So I mean, if you are wanting to be able to build really engaging, memorable courses where people stand a much greater chance of walking away with a satisfactory learning outcome, then I would strongly recommend doing this. It helps you not only redesign maybe other people's courseware if you've got to deliver that in a way which will be more engaging, but it also allows you to completely originate your own workshops, your own training as well, and come up with something that's really powerful and like I said, memorable and engaging. So I just wish every training course was delivered in this style, really, because you still see these things where people sit at the front and just pile on through the mother of all slide decks and deliver content at you, not with you.
And it's painful.
Very much so.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to ask you about some of how to get in contact with you personally, but anything else that you think that I didn't ask that people would be interested in about training from the back of the room?
Well, I guess there are a bunch of great resources out there. Sharon's website is a fantastic mine of information on there, and there's some really, really cool videos and things as well too. And if you are interested in kind of doing the course, then tracking somebody down to do it is it's a worthwhile investment. I mean, the book is great as well, so maybe that could also be a starting point to you as well if you want to find out more.
Okay, and I just want to share that Sharon's website is beauperson.com, www.beauperson.com. Her name is Sharon Bowman, but her website is beauperson.com. All right, and so in closing, I want to ask a little bit about you, JP. So you live in England, and if people want to get in touch with you, or first tell me what your company does.
So I work with a company called Actineo, which is ACTINEO. And basically, I deliver training through them, but I also consult through them as well. I run Kanban training. I train something called Innovation Games as well as doing the TBR courses too in the UK. That's kind of what we do. The consulting we do is mostly, it is in the agile space by and large. So we do anything from kind of reasonably short-term engagements where people just have got a bit stuck and need a little bit of help, through to long-running things where we'll go in and do phased training and basically build people up so that they're able to carry on being agile and just continuously improving, really. So that's what our company does. You can find out more on it's actineo.xyz, or Z if you're in America. That's where you can find our website.
Okay, and if they want to personally get in touch with you, is there a way that the best way to do that, or you give out as much information as you feel comfortable doing?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. So my Twitter handle is it's JP Bayley. It's BAYLEY. So if you look that up, you can track me down through there. And I guess if you do want to get in touch, then you can always direct message me or something on there. Okay.
And then do you have any training from the back of the room events or any other public events coming up that you'd like to share about?
Yeah, so I've got one coming up in September. I tend to run 2 a year in the UK. So this one's in London in September. have to double check the dates now.
Yeah, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you that.
Should have had those to hand. I believe it's the 24th and the 25th. I usually put any events I've got coming up anyway up on Sharon's website. So if you do happen to be in the UK and you are or kind of nearby in Europe and you're interested in attending the course, then you can track me down on there.
All right, and just for people, this video might be up for a long time. So this is the year 2018. So
yes.
September 2018, there will be a training from the back of the room in London.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Great.
So JP, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining me today and answering questions for the audience. And
thank you for having me, Kelly.
Maybe we'll get to meet in person sometime. I don't know, at a training from the back of the room event or something.
It would be great. It would be great. So just good speaking to you.
Good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thanks once again.